Hello everyone, I'm Dennis Burns from Boulder Sounds. Welcome to this video of our new sample library for Native Instruments Kontakt. It's titled Grand Music Boxes. So what are grand music boxes? I'm calling them grand music boxes because these are music boxes that are approximately 5 octaves in size. So they're not the little, do-it-yourself type music boxes that you put on a wall and play a little tune with. These are just real elegant music boxes. The first one in this library, and I think it's sort of the main instrument of the library, is a Regina music box. They were made any time between 1892 and the early 1920s. And they're absolutely gorgeous instruments. If you take a look at your screen, here's a Regina. And you can see the overall size of it is quite large. It's a 15.5-inch disc. And this one was housed up in Hamel House Museum up in Georgetown, Colorado. So the folks up there were very generous in letting me record it. And what I did for the Regina is I had custom discs built for the Regina so that it would just sample each individual note for as long a decay as possible so we could get a nice long ringing note. Here's an example of one of the discs I had made. I had 8 of these made. These were made by a fellow in New Hampshire named Jack Perrone, and he's a master disc maker and very knowledgeable about music boxes. And then the second grand music box sampled in this library is called a Kalliope. And what we did for that is I just used a mechanism, which is this beast, which weighs a ton. So that's the Kalliope mechanism. And what I did is I mounted this on different surfaces and recorded it. So the basic difference between these two grand music boxes in this library is the Regina was sampled in its case that it was originally intended to be played in. So it's a very accurate representation of what that music box sounded like. The Kalliope, I decided to use this to put it on different resonating surfaces to get different sonic signatures. So that's the fundamental difference between those two libraries, and they sound quite different, but they sound beautiful when they're layered on top of each other. And then there's 2 other music box sets in this library, which are not grand music boxes. They're just there as a complement to these bigger music boxes. If you lay them right over them in certain ranges of the bigger music boxes, they can create a really charming sound. And one of them is a bird music box. And what that is a set of music boxes that look like this. So it's a bird with a small mechanism inside, which I've sampled each one of those to get the best selection of notes. And then the 4th library is a DIY, do-it-yourself music box, which is what I was referring to earlier. You can buy them in cheap stores and put them on different resonating surfaces and just crank them and get a different sound. You can put them on glass, put them on wood, whatever. So we put a set of those in as well to complement the bigger grand music boxes. So let's dive in. Let's take a look at the Regina. So what I have now is the Regina music box loaded up into Kontakt 6. And here on the bottom left, we have 2 main panels, the instrument panel and the effects panel. And for each panel, in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see there's a drop-down menu, which is various pages of those particular panels. On the front page, we also have the effects buttons on the right side. That's just to turn the effects on and off very quickly if you want to audition them. If you want to edit them in more detail, you would want to go to the effects pages. Okay? And you'll notice in the center it says, right now we're in double mode. I will explain that in just a moment. And we also have a mechanical noise, which is right here. And right now the mechanical noise is turned off. So a little story about my recording of the Regina was the moment I turned it on and started listening to it, there was this sound that sounded like this. And it went continuously. And I thought, oh my God, how am I going to deal with that? Anyway, if you read the manual, there's an in-depth explanation as to how this was sampled. So you might find that interesting. If you're interested in the whole world of sampling, read the manual. There's a section in there about the somewhat ordeal I had sampling the Regina. But that will turn the mechanical noise on and off, and that's assigned to 2 key switches down here in the bottom left-hand part of the keyboard. So let's stay on the instrument panel. Let's go to the back page. Now, you can see we're obviously still in double mode. And the 2 modes we're using right now is on the left side, it says Mechanism. And on the right side, it says Hand. So Mechanism means I recorded the samples of the Regina with it in play mode. I spun the crank, the disc went around, the notes sounded, and I let the note ring out. Okay, that's Mechanism. The right side, where it says Hand, what happened there was I wasn't at first pleased with the Mechanism sounds. Eventually I got the sound I wanted, but I realized that by taking the disc and not using the crank at all, and therefore I could bypass that crank sound of the gear running, that sound we were just listening to. I realized if I put the disc in the Regina and loosened the handle so there was no tension in the spring, and I moved the disc ever so slowly, the moment I got a note to sound, ding, I held the disc still, and I let it ring as long as it could ring until it decayed and died away. So those are called hand samples. They have a different sound to them, though, than the Mechanism samples, because if the disc is constantly rotating in a circle while the sound is going up through it, it creates this really gradual wavering, sort of like an LFO effect on an amplitude envelope. And it's a beautiful sound. So the Mechanism sounds they have more motion to them. The hand sounds are a little more still, but that's why we're sampling, is to get as many different sounds as we can. And so what I'm doing here in this particular version, we're layering those on top of each other. So this is what it sounds like. It's quite a rich, beautiful sound. Down to that low C. And please forgive my lousy keyboard playing. I'm just not that good. So, what if I switch modes now? So I'm going to change it from double mode to single mode. You'll notice I only have one choice. I can either choose the Mechanism or the hand. I'll stay with the hand sound for the moment. And if we want more authenticity, we could turn on the mechanical noise. There it is. There's the noise cranking away. And you can control that volume on another page that I'll show you. Now, for each recording, whether it's the hand mechanism or the mechanical mechanism, we have control over tuning. So you can tune that layer up in semitones or fine tuning. We can control the volume. We can pan it left or right. We can change the decay. We have some amplitude settings here. We can also change the sample start. So if you move the sample start further into the sample, you'll have less of a heart attack. And that could be very nice with a slow envelope attack. And we can control the curve of the envelope attack, as well as the attack speed and the release. So we can control these independently for each articulation. So here's the sound of just the single one. Okay, let's listen to the hand. Oh, I'm sorry. Hand articulation. articulation, you know, has a little bit brighter quality to it. And then, like we had before, we can turn it to double mode. Now, we could also have two hand articulations against each other. You see? So this is hand against hand. And then what I might do is I might tune the second hand one just slightly. There's 25 cents, a little sharp. So that gives it kind of a chorused, almost electric piano type of sound to it. So there's lots of tone shaping flexibility here. Okay, so let's take a look now at the settings page of the instrument tab. And before I leave the back page, let's switch this back to double mode, since I'm very fond of that sound. And we'll go with a hand and mechanism doubled, and I'll take the detuning. I'll just go back to default setting of no detuning. So what I do is I use my drop-down menu here to go to the settings page. And notice on the left column it says velocity. So velocity is set to 33%. So we have some velocity response from the keyboard. Music boxes do not do that. So if you want an authentic replication of the music box, what you do is you turn it down to 0. So what that means is no matter what velocity I play, soft or loud, everything's the same volume. Okay, no dynamics at all. So what arrangers would do if they wanted sense of dynamics, they would simply add more notes. If they wanted louder, they would make arrangements with a thicker texture. That's called terrace dynamics, similar to the way harpsichord players would have played back in the Baroque era. Below that, we have a cutoff filter. So that's a low-pass filter that we can get if you use the velocity and you turn it up. So let's give it a fairly exaggerated velocity response. So now I'm going to have a wide range of velocity. Right? And then if I use the filter cutoff, at lower velocities, you'll notice it'll be quite a bit darker. And if I lay into it, the filter will open up and I'll get a brighter sound. So this is virtual music box creation. No music box would work this way, but since we are in the virtual world, we can do that. The next column is dedicated to mechanical noises. This key switch is set to C0 for the noise, the crank noise that I talked about at the beginning of the video. If you want to reassign that, all you do is you click on the box and you hit the new key that you want to reassign that to, and you can customize your key switches. So there's one for noise on and noise off. Below that, we also have a winding crank sound, and that's assigned down here, that purple key. Oh, excuse me. Here it is. So that's winding the crank on the side of the music box. And we can change the speed with this dial, and we can change the volume of it as well. The same thing is true for the mechanical noise. We can increase the speed or increase the volume level or decrease it or whatever. So that's very simple. That's the settings page. Okay, so now on the instrument panel, one more page drop down here. We have the About page. And what that is, that's a built-in manual right into Kontakt so you can refer to stuff. So that's just a nice convenience there, so you don't necessarily have to refer to the PDF manual. Okay, so that's it for the instrument panel. Let's go to the effects panel. And I'll just very briefly go over this because I think you guys probably know all about effects and settings. So we click on effects, and what we have is our effects all listed here on the right column. If you click on one of these buttons, it'll open the corresponding effect, and you can edit it right there. So we have pre-EQ, pre-tune to the compressor, okay, and then a post EQ after the compressor. We have chorus, and of course with the chorus page we have flange, phase, rotator, and an amplitude LFO. On the delay page, that's our typical delay. Reverb is Kontakt's built-in reverb engine. It's a little more CPU efficient than the IR reverbs. When we click on space, this is where we get our IR menu. So you can see we get here, we have all these cool IRs to choose from. We have traditional ones up here: ambience, church, hall, plate, room, and below that we have some kind of cool sounding, reverse type IRs. And you can edit those to your heart's delight. I just thought the reverse ones happen to sound quite good with the music boxes. So you can play with those and have all sorts of fun. So that's it for the Regina. Very simple. I'll bring in the Kalliope and just show you the basic tonal difference between the two instruments. All right, so now I have the Kalliope loaded up, and the basic layout of the instrument is the same as the Regina. A few differences, but you'll notice on the front panel right there in the center it says resonance. Below it says stairway. So that means the Kalliope Mechanism was recorded on a wooden stairway, which is right here behind me in my house, and it's got this great kind of resonant sound up the stairs. If you use this drop-down menu, you have other choices here. Grand piano was recorded inside the lid of a grand piano with the sustain pedal held down, so there's just all this crazy resonance for every single note that was sampled. So each sample is somewhat unique. On top of a garbage can, small aluminum garbage can, and a closet door, which I also took from my home and detached the door, brought it down to my studio, laid it on the closet door, and it gave this big woody kind of thuddy quality to it. So here's what the stairway sounds like. So you notice the Kalliope has a little bit more of a almost marimba-like quality to it. It's quite a bit brighter, very articulate. And it sounds beautiful layered on top of the Regina. Let's take a listen to the grand piano. So these piano resonances are built into the sample. They're baked in. You cannot remove them. But the cool thing about it is each sample is slightly different. Let's take a listen to the garbage can. It's going to be very aluminum sounding. Hear that kind of metallic quality on it. Closet door. Okay, so let's go to the back page. Now on the back page we have the resonance choice up above, and from that resonance we can choose front and rear. So what that means is the mechanism for the Kalliope, oh, excuse me, I almost dropped it. So this is a dual comb music box, and so is the Regina. What that means is on each side of what's the star wheel is what plucks, what spins around and plucks the tines or the combs. So when it spins around, it plucks two combs, which gives you this kind of natural chorusing effect. So that's called dual comb or double comb. Now the Kalliope was separated into a big rear comb, two sets of them, or two of them, and then a smaller front comb. Okay, so we have front and rear. So that's what that refers to when it says comb. So for example, you can choose, let me go back to my stairway, and we're using the front and rear mechanism, okay, of the stairway. So what if I want to change that to just the front mechanism only? So this is now a single comb music box. You see, so now it has a much more focused kind of sound to it because it's just using one of the combs, the low and the high comb from the front. If I change that to the rear, it's going to be a similar sound, but different. That comb is a little stronger sounding, a little more resonant. Okay. What else can we choose from here? We can choose a combination. Combination is the choice of best samples from both. Okay, so one rear comb might have a better sounding pitch than the rear comb on the left side. Okay. So we're giving you all these combinations that you can choose from. And then below that, you have you can tune the music box, you can change the volume, you can change the stereo image, sample start, and various things that I showed you in the Regina. So there's lots of cool sounds you can get here for sure. And like I said, try layering it with the Regina. It's really kind of a mind-blowing sound, I think. And then the effects tab with all its various pages is the same as the Regina that I showed you before, so I won't spend time explaining that. Okay, I'll very quickly show you the small music boxes. So I'll quickly show you the other two small music boxes. This is the bird music boxes. There were actually 4 of them. I only put 3 on the cover because the 4th one got decapitated and it was kind of a gruesome sight, so I didn't think anybody would want to look at that. So notice it says mode, it says single. We can change that to double, but for the moment we are using, if I go to the back page of the instrument panel, it shows me we're using the bird combo. What that means is that I chose the best samples from each of the 4 music boxes and combined them into one. So that's this sound. Right? So if you want to choose a different combination, we can have bird 1, bird 2, bird 3 or 4. And then I can change this from single to double, and I can choose different ones. I can have bird 3 playing against bird 4. I can tune them independently. You can see in the tuning here, it's 0.12 semitones tuned a bit sharp. 0.12 cents, I should say. Right, for that kind of chorusing music box sound. But like I said, these sound great layered against the Regina or the Kalliope. So there's the bird, and let me show you the DIY. So now I have the DIY music boxes loaded up, and as you can see, it's in double mode. So here's what we have sound-wise. Okay, so if we go to the back page on the DIY music box, you'll notice I was using double mode. It was using music box 1 against music box 1 again, detuned. So we also have music box 2, so this will give us a little more variety. So music box 2 has a little more percussive, drier quality to it. And again, we can change the tunings and add our effects and all sorts of IR convolutions, etc. So that's it. That's Grand Music Boxes. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope you're going to have a good 2021. It is now December 22nd of 2020. It's been a rough year for everybody, and I wish you the best, and stay safe. Take care.